We are back talking law on Radio 97 with Despina Priala from Priala Legal. And if you want to send us a question like Sally from Southport, you can send it to breakfast@radio97.com.au. Now, next question is, my neighbour's dog keeps barking. Oh, common one. I've sent a written complaint to council but haven't heard back. It's been about a week. Is there anything else I can possibly do?
Okay, so not hearing back from council for about a week is normal. Council's very busy, as we all know, so they've got a lot of things to deal with. However, you've lodged the complaint. It will be dealt with. You just have to be a little bit patient. I understand it's probably a nuisance. Of course, if it's a continual barking dog and you're waiting for council to turn up, there are a few things that you can do in the meantime, and it's important to understand from your perspective. When you lodge the complaint, obviously council's not there, right? So they receive your complaint, they then have to investigate. So that will mean talking to you, acknowledging receipt of your complaint, that will come in time, and then they're going to get in contact with the neighbour that you've complained about. Now, your complaint is supposed to be anonymous, so when you lodge, particularly I know on the Gold Coast City Council website, it does say that you can remain anonymous, and on most complaints, if not all, the person or the complainer, if I could call it that, is to remain anonymous. So the details of where the noise is emanating from is obviously part of the complaint. So council knows where to investigate. They need to go and investigate first to see if this is a true, genuine complaint or whether it's not. Okay, and that's fair enough, isn't it? Because I'm sure council will probably be inundated with a number of neighbourhood complaints and dog barking complaints. It happens all the time. So then council has to have the opportunity and time to go and investigate. They will go and speak to the neighbour. Now, sometimes what has happened is that when the council goes and knocks on the door of the particular neighbour, then they have to see if the dog barks. That's what they're there for, aren't they? They're going there to see, okay, well, let's see if this dog is barking all the time, or maybe it's just, once or twice while I'm there. That's the whole purpose of going to do a physical visit at the address. And if they go along to the address and when they're there and they talk to the neighbour and they meet the dog, make sure the dog's registered. All right, so that's another opportunity to make sure that they have actually complied with council laws, the dog is registered, paid their fees. Then if the dog's pretty quiet, then you'll get this nice letter from council, because I've had that myself, to say, well, we've investigated the matter. There's nothing actually there. Thank you, but that's all we can do. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's rough. Like, what if they're barking all night?
And they sleep during the day when the council comes.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is what I suggest to people. If you have that situation where your neighbour has a dog that really just barks and barks and barks and barks all the time, it's a nuisance day and night, just take video footage. So get your phone. You don't have to see the dog. I mean, you can be in your yard, so you're not invading people's privacy.
And ideally, that's what you should do.
I'm not suggesting, absolutely not, that's trespassing. I'm not suggesting that. What I suggest is that you stand outside on your deck or in your backyard. You can hear the dog quite loudly. You film yourself, so you film your surrounds, saying, I'm in my house, it's now, Tuesday, this date, this time, and you can hear the dog barking. Put the phone out and you'll just record it, and the noise will come through on the phone. Then do it again an hour later, do it again an hour later. It'll have date and time stamp, and then that footage can go to council with your complaint. Okay, and then if council comes over to your place to have a discussion about it, you can say, look, here is my video footage. It is real. It's a genuine complaint. I have evidence. You need to investigate this properly, because if you happen to be there at the time and the dog wasn't barking, that's not my fault. I am telling you this happens 7 days a week, if that's the case. Constant. It is creating and interfering actually with my peace and enjoyment of my own home. And that is a real issue that you can complain about.
And this is, of course, is an issue that, as you mentioned, people, it happens so often amongst neighbours. What's a reasonable amount of time? As you said, I know council obviously has a lot of work to do. There's plenty of complaints, plenty of things for them to get through in a day. What's a reasonable length of time? Is a month reasonable? Is 2 months? I mean, is a week? what's your suggestion there?
I think a reasonable period of time, give council 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
I think you'll find actually when you lodge, it does say you get this automatic email back to say we'll be in touch with you. I think the next 14 days, or there is a period of time. And I think 14 days is a reasonable period. 7 days, probably a little bit short because, council is very busy and they've got a lot of complaints to deal with. So I'd wait 14 days. Then if you haven't heard, ring up council, go to the complaint section, obviously within council, because council has a lot of different divisions within the council, and speak to the relevant person if you can get through and say, did you receive my complaint? I lodged it online on this date. I want to make sure you've got it and that you're actually investigating. Then if you do get to speak to an investigator, and they do say, yes, we've got your complaint. Yes, this is what we're doing. Yes, we're going to go out and visit the premises. Now that itself takes time. They've got to find the inspector who has the time to go to the house, go and inspect, speak to the neighbour. Then once they've investigated, they've got to report back to you. So it does all take time. Now during all of that period, as I said, there is nothing wrong with you taking evidence for yourself to be able to produce to council. I wouldn't like to think that the neighbour in question is aware of when council will come and investigate to then put away their dog so that the dog doesn't, bark at that particular time.
Yeah, so it's got to, hopefully it's random. Yeah, so that the,
so it's fair.
The next door neighbour won't put little spot or whatever in the bedroom or just shut him up. Give him some food and. Yeah, go and lay down.
Well, that's, yes, exactly right. I am aware that sometimes council officers do just sit outside in the street before they buzz that doorbell, just to see for themselves independently, because it is about causing a nuisance within the neighbourhood. So it is, and you can imagine it's quite logical for them, isn't it, to sit in their car out in the street, parked right outside the house to see, okay, is this a quiet neighbourhood? Can I hear a dog barking? Where is the noise emanating from? Before they ring that doorbell and talk to the owner themselves or the occupier about this complaint. So you can imagine that's quite logical, isn't it, to be able to do that? And I think that's quite fair. And it is about interfering with your peace and enjoyment of your surrounds. So you as a homeowner, you've got the right to live in this home, or an occupier if you've got renters. They have the right to be able to enjoy their own home in their own peace and enjoyment in the privacy of their own home, and they don't really want to have all these horrible noises emanating on a consistent basis. Once in a blue moon, okay, let's not go crazy, let's not go and lodge complaints if it's a dog barking once in a blue moon or so. But if it's a constant, yes, absolutely.
Of course, 100%. So that was from an anonymous listener in Paradise Point. So thank you so much for writing in that one. Wayne, we have one more question to get through, nice and quick.
All right, so just briefly, Despina, we've got a letter here from Barry from Tweed, who's wondering about debt collectors. Now, apparently debt collectors have to be licensed now. Is that correct?
Oh, great question. I was actually going to bring this up next week on our segment, because there's new laws that have passed since the 1st of July. So yes, very quickly, now people who are, we consider them, or we call them lay people, debt collectors, right? So people who owe people money, debt collectors. So they're in this business of debt management, right, for people. So now they have to be licensed. And they didn't have to be before. So they've actually got to have an actual license issued by ASIC.
So what does that actually mean for people who who come into contact with a debt collector? Well,
people who have this business of debt collecting and debt management, it is considered a credit service. So that means they've got to have a credit license. So it means that not any person can just pop up a debt collecting business and immediately run it. They've actually got to be properly licensed and qualified according to ASIC in terms of having a credit license. So really, really important. So if you do ever get a letter or an email from a debt collecting company after the 1st of July, I would be looking straight away for something on that email or that letter to show the license that has been issued, because normally you have to display it. So credit license number, right? And if it doesn't, I would be looking up online, because you can through ASIC, as to whether this company has got a license issued. And if they don't, you don't have to deal with them.
Oh, well, there's your answer, Barry from Tweed Heads. Great advice there, as always, from Despina Priala from Priala Legal. And if you do want to ask you a question direct, Despina, where can they go?
So they can ring the office, 55291 294. They can message my mobile, 0400 141 269.
Wonderful. You can also send your questions to us here at breakfast@radio97.com.au. Thank you so much again, Despina. We'll see you next week.
See you then.